go.
Okay, so what I have here, these are the essential tools to be able to replace your lower wheels and your panels. You will need an Allen key, it would be a 3mm, and then you also need a 2.5. It could be Allen key as well, not necessarily a T-bar. And this is for your lower hinge piece, so you can loosen the screws, take them out, and then kind of just be able to maneuver your lower wheels. So the first thing that we're going to get started when replacing your daily door lower wheel, maybe you feel like it's not closing correctly, or just you're having issues with it in general. One thing that you want to do is all these panels have end caps on the lower corner behind the wheel. So all you're going to do is you're going to take off your end cap. And again, this is specifically, I am going to be explaining on how to take your lower wheel out on your daily door. So one thing that you will need as well is a measuring tape. And it just makes it easier to determine how far or where exactly you need to place the lower wheel in order for it to be structurable again. So the first thing that you're going to do is you kind of get your measuring tape. You're going to place it inside, and this should hit the lower wheel. So when you come in, you get your measuring tape, and you're going to find your measurement. So you got probably about 1 inch and maybe 7/16, right? Once you do that, you get your Allen key. If you do have a doorstop, you just remove this pin, get it out of your way. You kind of have a little bit more room to maintain. And then there is a screw. This is what your lower wheel looks like. There is a screw that sits in front of your lower wheel here, and this is exactly what the Allen key is for. It's kind of difficult. You are going to have to probably use your fingers, kind of get the feel of where the screw is at, and kind of just be a little bit more patient when you're removing the screw. So this screw is going to be all the way in, basically, and you're just going to use the Allen key to loosen it. It is going to take some turns, but once it's loosened, which I will go ahead and try to sample here. So you basically just set it in there. It does take a while. You just kind of loosen it as best you can, and you'll determine if it's loose when the panel is either going to fall back if you don't have anything supporting the back, or you can push it and it slides out. Okay, it may be good to position yourself. There we go. Another thing, there is something you have to figure out is how to loosen your screw. Usually with an out-left system, your lefty-loosey usually works, but if you have an outright system, it's usually the opposite way. And it takes a little bit of time. Once it gets loose, it gets a little quicker. And then once this screw gets close to loosening, or it gets out, it'll slide just like that. So you just want to make sure you do it one more, so that way when you transition and take out your panel, and again, if you have support from the back, it's better, just that way it doesn't fall like that. It's not the worst case scenario if it slides and falls back at a rapid pace like that. But so one thing, whenever you have it out, again, you just slide it back out. You're gonna move this just a little bit to your left, kind of gives you time, a little bit to maneuver. And this is where your 2.5 gets here, your lower hinge piece. So you will have to loosen the screws here. You either have 2 screws, even if you have 3 screws, either way, all these screws need to come out. The best thing to do to kind of mark your spot so you don't, is kind of just get your screws, loosen your fastener screws. I mean, your secured screws, and then just place it either under your, you know, kind of just level so you don't lose your placement. Same thing with this one. All right, so once you have that, this lower hinge piece is going to be able to move. So now what we're going to have to do is push this out a little bit more, slide this forward. So the way this comes out, you lift the lower wheel, lift it, turn it, slide it. And then you got to take this lower hinge piece out. And there should be a cutout, manufactured cutout, that's a little thicker than your original lower track. And this is where you get your access from your lower wheels and how to replace them. Slide it back. And you just play with it a little bit, maneuver, and it should come right up. And that's your lower wheel. Now the way you determine on how to put it back, so you have four angles of this wheel, 4 sides. One, they're all edged, got corners, and then you have one that's rounded. You always want to make sure your rounded edge is facing towards the exterior. It doesn't matter if you have an out left, out right system. This rounded edge is always facing towards the exterior. The way you put it back in, you get straight. So your open direction, you look at this lower half circle on the lower wheel is the direction. So if you have an outright door like the system is that we're showing you on, you're going to place this wheel, this front screw is always going to be towards the front. So whenever you close it, you're able to slide it. Whenever you're opening it, this is how it catches on the hinge. So now we're going to place it back inside of the lower track. The easiest way to do it is kind of hold it horizontal from yourself. Again, make sure that the circular edge is facing towards the exterior. And again, if you have another partner, you know, and they want to move this out of your way, you can kind of pull it out, give yourself a little room. And it's a simple, just hold on, let me get there. Slide a little bit. Circular edge here. And then just slide it back and forth, and that's how you know you got it in there correctly. Once you got it in, want to push this out, slide the wheel in, place your lower hinge piece back. Make sure you have it horizontal again, with parallel with yourself. Slide it back to where it doesn't hit that hinge. Once you see the hinges moving, then you can bring this hinge back up, and then twist it, and then now you're good. And now you're in the position that it should originally be in when it's installed back into its channel. Once that happens, you lift on the lower wheel. Hold on. So the best thing to do is always make sure that your screw is screwed all the way up as best as it can, because it just makes it easier to put it in. So we're gonna go up. Again, screw the screw all the way up to where it's kind of flush, not sticking out, but flush with the top of this silver block. That way you don't have to twist that much whenever you go to slide the wheel back into the door. Again, parallel with yourself, all the way back, and then twist. And then once you have that, you're here, and then it just slides back in. And then now, you get your measuring tape. You do your measurement, and it should, and this is where it should be about there. There. All right. actually. That should be good there. Yep. And again, you can screw in as far as you need to. And you should be good. And then now you got your set screws. You had them bookmarked or placed close to where they were. Get back to your hole, line it up. There we go. There should be there. I don't know if I can find the hole. Well, it's not as easy as I thought. There you go. Where's the screw go? Mm-hmm.